Welcome to Quanex Screens. As with all Quanex operations, safety is the #1 priority. All safety procedures must be followed to prevent injury. Each position on the production floor requires different personal protective equipment, otherwise known as PPE. You will be provided with safety glasses, earplugs, cut-resistant gloves, and arm guards. Additionally, all mesh roll changes require a 2-person lift team when refilling a turret. We also need to ensure the best possible quality for our customers. To do this, visually inspect screen for quality defects. Watch for scratches in frame, lines in mesh, and wrong size. Periodically check staging and sequence. Every quarter hour, a screen gets measured. First, we'll talk about the role of the sawyer. The sawyer stacks 2 pieces of material on top of one another and feeds them into the saw, making the first cut into the material. These will be used for the top and bottom of the screen. The sawyer then places a warning label and an ID label on the top piece of the frame. He or she pushes plastic corners into each side of the bottom piece of the frame. The sawyer then passes both pieces to the rigger, then returns to the saw and cuts 2 more pieces of material and passes them to the rigger. These pieces will be used for the sides of the screen. Next, the rigger. The rigger takes the top piece of the frame from the sawyer and begins to place the springs onto each side of the piece. The rigger then pushes the plastic corners into each side of the top piece where he or she placed the springs. He or she then takes the bottom piece of the frame and places it into a holder. Now the rigger takes the side pieces of the frame and installs one on each side of the bottom piece of the frame, pushing them into the plastic corners. Finally, he or she grabs the top piece of the frame and places it into the sides, pushing the corners into the frame, and then passes the frame to the roller. The roller places the screen frame onto the rolling table. The roller then positions the table pucks to hold the screen frame onto the table. The roller then places 2 back tabs into the spline groove of the frame on the opposite side of the springs. He or she places these 4 inches from the outside edge of the frame. Now, the roller pulls the screen mesh over top of the frame, leaving about a 1/4 inch of hangover. The roller positions the spline in the bottom right corner of the screen frame and places the rolling tool 3 inches from the edge of the frame. First rolling backwards towards the edge of the frame and then rolling forward, rolling the spline into the groove towards the corner. The roller continues with this process in each corner, rolling backward into the corner and then rolling the next side. Once the roller has completed this process for all 4 sides, he or she cuts the spline at the edge of the spline groove, allowing the end to overlap the starting end. Rollers then make sure that all ends of the spline are tucked into the grooves. Finally, the extra screen mesh is trimmed from all sides. Lastly, at the end of each shift, please remember to do these things. Pick up any parts and return them to their proper containers. Clean all scrap materials and put them in their proper receptacles. Refill empty mesh rolls. Sweep entire work cell. Empty trash. Return mats to proper place. And most importantly, always remember, safety first and to follow our cardinal rules.